so incredibly happy to introduce Jason Berry, who is a co-founder of FeaturePeek, has some incredible front-end experience, has worked for companies like Apple, and today in his talk he's going to be talking about automating deployment. I know that a lot of our community has talked about issues in terms of they run into roadblocks when it comes to deployment, and we just kind of want to go over how to make things a little bit faster and easier with GitHub Actions. And I am not a developer, so I'll let Jason take care of explaining all that jazz to you. Over to you, Jason.
Great. Well, thanks for the intro, Navi. Hi, everyone. Happy for you to tune in. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining. And yeah, we're just going to jump right in and get started. So I'm going to share my screen here. I've got a little presentation, just a couple slides to go through. Then I'm going to switch back over to my IDE, show you some of the code I required, and then go over to the browser and walk you through a couple places in the GitHub UI where GitHub Actions happens. And at the very end, I'll be sharing a link, a repo link, for all of you to fork on your own and get started, on the ground running. So let me just, I'm going to stop my video and share my screen here. There we go. Very cool. All right. Everyone see, give me the thumbs up if you guys can see. All right, we are live. Here we go. So switch over to Keynote and play. Minimize this. All right. So today we're going to learn how to automate and deploy with GitHub Actions. My name is Jason Berry. I'm a co-founder and head of product at FeaturePeek. FeaturePeek is a deployment preview platform. If you don't know about it, check it out at featurepeek.com. And also, stay tuned because I'm going to be showing you later in this talk how to integrate GitHub Actions with FeaturePeek so you can deploy straight to FeaturePeek on every pull request automatically. What is GitHub Actions? Well, succinctly, GitHub Actions is a continuous integration pipeline. It's comparable to services like Circle CI, Travis, Jenkins. There are about 15 to 20 pretty popular platforms out there. The cool thing about GitHub Actions is it's free. You get 2,000 build minutes per month on the free tier of GitHub. So it's an incredibly generous amount. I never even come close. So don't even have to worry about hitting that limit. And it's built into GitHub. So it's like a first party solution, which is always nice. And what does a continuous integration pipeline mean? What exactly does that mean? Well, basically, it means you can run shell commands on your Git branches automatically. So I'm sure you're used to having the command line interface, typing commands out on your own. This is a way for you to extend the functionality of stuff that happens on GitHub via code that you write. And it happens all in the background automatically. So it's really powerful. It's a good way to make sure that the changes you're proposing aren't going to mess anything up. So what can you do with some of these extensions? What are some examples of things you can do in this pipeline? Well, you can run unit tests. You might have heard of frameworks like Jest, which is a way for testing React components and snapshots. You can use static analysis like ESLint or Flow. Basically, it'll scan your code and recommend changes of maybe the formatting doesn't meet the convention that your team has proposed, or, oh, hey, this isn't actually syntactically valid. If you merge this, things are going to break. So having these run automatically just in the background and alerting you if there's a problem is a huge boost to preventing accidental slip-ups and errors. That's one half. And then the second half is deployment. So instead of back in the old day, you'd FTP your files up to a server, or maybe you'd secure shell into a server to update your website with the latest changes. But now, if all the unit tests pass and the static analysis passes, you'll be pretty confident that you can automate that deployment and nothing would go wrong. So these are some of the things we're going to go over today. I have separate workflow files for unit tests, for static analysis, for deployment. So pretty exciting stuff. So that's one half of GitHub Actions. That's the continuous integration pipeline. But I'm sure if there was an employee from GitHub on this call working with us today, he said there's more than that, because it's kind of like a meta platform you can do to automate GitHub itself. So for the larger repos, if you have like a lot of contributors, people are filing issues and opening pull requests on their own, for example, you can do things like, oh, if the issue title has this certain keyword, then automatically assign it to Bob, because I know Bob is the person who works on that keyword, right? So you can kind of automate some of the metadata within your GitHub repo itself, based on criteria that you define. It's one of those things that's like the possibilities are endless type of things. The documentation is very vast, and they open up a lot of functionality that developers can have to control. So yes, it's kind of like this, GitHub is already a developer platform. Now it's like a developer platform that you can extend it to your own whims. But if there's one takeaway, what is a continuous integration pipeline? If there's one thing you should remember, it's the answer to this question. Is this change safe to merge? You've just opened a pull request. You want to run all the tests you can to make sure that nothing's going to go wrong. There are plenty of companies and businesses out there that run all their logic during this step. There's some like UI comparison software. I think it's called Percy, that basically it'll take an actual screenshot of your site and then compare the merge, the pull request to that screenshot, overlay, and then measure the pixels to see, oh, what did I accidentally make a CSS change that I didn't intend? So really, really, really powerful stuff that you can do in this phase of the development cycle. So where do GitHub Actions live in the GitHub UI itself? Well, there are a couple places. Maybe you've noticed this Actions tab. I can't move my mouse, so you can't see my cursor here. But you've probably seen this Actions tab in between pull requests and projects. If you don't have any GitHub Action workflow files set on your repo, the page kind of looks like it's like a marketing page, kind of pointing you to the GitHub Actions marketplace. If you do have workflows set up, it'll look something like this. So on the left, we have a bunch of different workflows set up by their name. We define these names within our project. And then every test that happens, every workflow that runs occurs here on the right-hand side. And you can see the check for everything worked as expected, or the red cross, which is like, uh-oh, something's wrong. You're gonna have to take a look at this. This is my favorite part of where GitHub Actions appears in the UI. It's at the bottom of the pull request. You'll see each workflow and their status. If you click over to the details link that's on the right side of the row, you'll go into the build log section. So we can see here, it looks like my unit test didn't pass, and my linter is complaining. So if I click over to the details link, we'll go straight to it and see, I made a change to my component, but I didn't update my snapshots. So the snapshot test is failing. And it's just kind of like tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, something's wrong, go check this out. Ideally, all your tests would pass. You'd get that nice green check mark for all your checks, and you'll know that your changes are safe to merge. And this is a really cool part too. GitHub has really got a nice and tight integration here. So basically, because I didn't escape that quotation mark in the word didn't, and based on the configuration of my ESLint configuration, it's recommending me to replace that with some HTML encoded string instead. So this is a really easy way. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this too. If you run ESLint in your CLI, this is the same logic that's running. It's the same version of ESLint. So instead of appearing in your in your command line, it also appears inline in the diff of GitHub. So you can say like, okay, I need to know to fix that, push a change, and it'll go away. So what exactly does a workflow look like? How do I define a workflow? Well, a workflow, and I kind of use actions and workflow interchangeably. A workflow can contain multiple actions, but people kind of throw them back and forth. They're a bit interchangeable. Just FYI. So what does a workflow look like? Well, it's just YAML. It's a YAML configuration file in the .github directory, .github/workflows directory of your repo. So if you check in a change, push a branch that contains the workflows directory inside the .github directory at the root level of your repo, then these actions will run. And there are a couple, let me just walk you through the format of this GitHub Actions workflow. So name is just what you call it. You can call it anything, a label to help you identify. On is very powerful, and you can pass it either an array or an object of events. So here I've got the pull request event. Anytime a pull request is opened, these steps will run. Now you can get really specific, and I have a link in the README of the repo I'm going to share with you guys of what all the keywords you can pass here. You can filter based on branch name. You can run specific actions, whether your repo has certain file types in there where you can like pass a pattern glob of saying like, okay, if there are any changes regarding JavaScript files, then run this. It's really, really extensive. And but just for illustrative purposes and simplicity, I just have this one action here. The cool thing too is because all your workflows are specified in a directory, it's recommended to have multiple different workflow files rather than one giant file that does everything, right? That way you can see each workflow file manifest in the places in the UI I showed you before as, oh, I know specifically my unit tests are failing, rather than, oh, there's something wrong and I got to hunt exactly down what's wrong. So under jobs, you have the name of your job. Here in this example is just lint. You can write any keyword you want there. That's something just to help you identify. Usually you'll always want Ubuntu latest. For JavaScript, JavaScript projects, it's pretty ubiquitous. You don't really need to have a specific Linux distro. Ubuntu latest is usually safe. And then there are two initial steps that you'll always want. You'll want the checkout step. This uses keyword is basically a way. It's basically like a GitHub Actions dependency. So just like in Yarn or NPM, you can install a dependency by having the name of a package on NPM. Here's it's kind of like the same model where you just specify, okay, action/checkout. And these are the GitHub first-party supplied ones. So that basically just says, okay, pull my latest repo on this branch, so I know my code is up to date. And then set up node, because I'm going to need the node runtime as well with version 14. Then after that, you just do yarn install to make sure you install all your dependencies. And then here's the kicker. It's the action you actually want to run. So in this case, I have a script in my package.json called lint that runs ESLint for static analysis. So I just call that, and if it's a success, I'll get that nice green check, and if it's a failure, I'll get that red cross saying that I need to go and look at the change. So that's basically the format. It's pretty straightforward. Now, some workflows require secrets. What is a secret? Well, a secret is an encrypted environment variable that's only within the scope of your repo. Maybe you've seen this tab in your repo settings as well. Didn't know what it was for. Secrets are so that you don't need to hard code tokens into your code base. So if you are doing something like publishing a package to NPM, well, to make sure that only you're capable of writing new versions to that package, NPM needs to know that you are who you say you are. And you do that by supplying an API key. Well, if you're working with a team, you don't want that API key just floating around because someone else can use it and then, publish some changes, some hacky stuff that could potentially do some nefarious things. So instead, what you do is you just make a new secret. It's just basically just like a key value pair, and you call the secret what you want, paste in your token, and it encrypts it safely. Then in your pipeline, you can reference that secret just by using this templating here. So there's a keyword called secrets, and then whatever you called your secret, it'll populate there. And it's all hidden. Even if you look through the build logs, it won't leak out. So that's the gist. That's basically, that's the slideshow presentation. I'm going to jump through some of the code now. So I've got, I'm really excited to share this sample repo I put together. You'll all be getting the link in the end. For now, I'm just going to walk through some sample GitHub Actions workflows that I put together. This thing is kind of getting in the way. Just move it. Yeah, okay, cool. So here I've got 3 jobs all set, and they're very, very similar. I'm sure there's a way where you can, set up the checkout setup node, install dependencies, and then use that kind of chain your actions so that one always happens first. But just for illustrative purposes, I've got them 3 side by side. And what's really important to note too is that all jobs run concurrently by default. So you can see here I've got 3 jobs, one named type check, which is basically just a type checker for TypeScript, lint, which is running ESLint, and then unit test, which is just calling jest. And because they're all siblings and they don't depend on anything else, they all run concurrently. So this is a really easy way to, one test doesn't depend on the result of the other, so you can fire them all at the same time and they asynchronously finish, really speeding things up. And I've set it to run only on pull requests. So with we've got 30 lines here, and just within this one file, I'm firing 3 types of tests, 3 different types of static analysis to make sure that my code that I'm about to deploy is safe. So really, really cool and powerful stuff. Other things we can do. We can automatically apply a label based on certain criteria. So I'm using this action I just downloaded from the GitHub Actions marketplace. I'll be showing you that in a moment. But basically, what this does is I set some criteria in a configuration file that says, okay, anytime a branch name starts with the keywords either feature or feat, then apply the feature label. If it starts with fix, apply the fix label. If the branch name starts with chore, assign the chore label. And yeah, this will make it easier, especially as your project grows. You've got lots of contributors. Having this kind of automation really helps you stay organized. Now, here's some other really cool workflows. If you're publishing to NPM, say you have like an open source, you're working on a JavaScript dependency that other people can use on their projects, instead of running npm publish straight from your command line, you can do it automatically when branches merge to your main branch. So you can see here, instead of passing, what was it before, pull request as an array, instead I've got an object with some criteria that I've defined. So only when I push to the master branch, run this action, right? That way, if you open a pull request, it's not going to auto-publish to NPM before all the checks pass, right? Only when you say, okay, I approve this, let's merge it into main. And then once that is all said and done, it'll automatically update in NPM. And you can see here I'm using the NPM token secret that I've specified on the repo itself. If you are working with a backend team that deploys on Kubernetes, you're going to want this Docker push GitHub action. Basically what this does, and I've got a Docker file set here in my repo. let's just walk through that. Publicly redistributed on a container registry on a Linux distro. So if you're if you're working with an easy way to hand off your front end built assets to that team. And this particular example is using GitHub Container Registry. So there are many container registries out there. Google has their own, AWS has their own. You just get to use GitHub just by having a GitHub account. You don't need like any external account, set anything up. Using these environment variables that GitHub supplies, this is how they know it's you, how your Docker image is scoped to your particular repo. This is the easiest way by far that I've found of deploying a Docker image to a container registry. And then finally, I've got this really cool GitHub action where I can set up deployment previews on my pull requests using FeaturePeek. So it's the same format. Instead of running it on pull requests, I'm going to run it every time I just push. Even if I push, any branch I want this to run, it's going to check out my repo, set up node, and then I've also got this optional step I've included that caches the node modules. So you might notice that when you install your dependencies, it takes about a minute to like pull everything and link everything up. But it shouldn't need to do that if you're not installing new dependencies, right? If you have, say, 10 follow-up commits and you haven't edited any of your dependencies, the result of that node modules directory is deterministic, right? It's not going to change. So if you just cache the result of that directory with the key being your yarn.lock file, you can just skip that step. So this is like an optional time-saving step to reduce redundancies. Then we're gonna install dependencies, build my front end, calling the build command, and then ping FeaturePeek, which is basically just a one-liner. It curls a bash script and deploys on the FeaturePeek platform. And I'm going to be showing you a bit more of each of these steps right now. So let's jump over to the repo itself. I've put together this this sample repo. It was created with Create Next app. Really cool template. It includes TypeScript, ESLint, Jest, Prettier, a whole bunch of stuff automatically. And I've included some sample actions as well. So here we've got some pull requests that I've merged. And you can see when you have actions, this green check mark appears next to the name of each pull request. And if all of them pass, you'll get this tooltip that says, okay, 7 out of 7 checks are okay. Remember I was talking about that auto labeling feature? All these labels were applied based on the branch name of each of these branches. Now, if something goes wrong, you'll get this check saying, uh-oh, it looks like something didn't pass here. If we dive into one of the pull requests, you'll see we're deploying a FeaturePeek. So we got this comment that was pasted here automatically by the FeaturePeek bot. So this is the deployment preview aspect of it. It takes the changes that were created in this pull request and basically sends them over to FeaturePeek, and you get a dedicated URL where you can preview those changes. Makes it really easy when you're sharing a link with someone else. They don't have to check out your branch, install things, run it on their machine locally. They can just click a link. So it makes it really easy to get some feedback. And then here are all my tests that I've defined in my workflow files. I've got about 7 tests, and some of them are failing, right? So we say, oh, okay, I'm going to click over the details and see what's up. This is the step. You'll recognize this. I mean, it's exactly what you would see in your CLI, right? It's just like the CLI running on the web. That's continuous integration. And oh yeah, I forgot to update my snapshots. Let me just rerun and then push, and I'll have that reassurance that everything's a-okay. Here's a quick tip too. If you're looking for this section on a merged pull request, GitHub is now hiding them by default. They're still there, but you have to click this View Details button. So if you wanted to look at the results of actions on an older pull request that's already been merged, you're just going to have to toggle this button here. So where do you find actions? Where's a cool way to see the actions that are already out there? Well, right in GitHub Marketplace. So just click Marketplace here in the GitHub header and filter by actions. And you can see there are over 6,000. Some of them are, first party by companies. Like here's one by Atlassian. You get that, blue check mark for verification. And then, third party developers, normal developers publish their own as well. So here's one. This is the one I was showing you earlier of auto publishing to NPM. It's literally a copy paste. Here's another tip too. So they recommend you this call to action, I think, is actually a little misleading because when you click on it, it doesn't really do anything. It just shows you what to copy, but this isn't even the whole workflow file. This is just one step in the workflow file. So I actually don't even really use this call to action. I just scroll down into the README and be like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. And you can see too, like it's the same stuff, just for whatever reason, like here's the step that actually matters and is running the thing. And here it is in the example, but you can see there, look, this token is actually required. So if you just copied this and left the token out, it's going to fail. So pro tip, this isn't actually that useful. I don't know why they emphasize it so much. Just read through the README and this is what you really want. Now, remember I was talking about FeaturePeek and deployment previews? Well, what happens when I click this link that was posted in my pull request? Well, I get to see the built front end right here. I've got a dedicated URL I can share with anyone. And yeah, this is it. This looks exactly how it looked like when I built my project locally. But I have the added bonus that I can, one, share it with anyone else. And two, you'll notice that there's this extra button here in the bottom left. And you get extra functionality just by deploying a FeaturePeek. It's not any runtime dependencies that you need to install. You don't need to worry about, oh, is this widget going to show up when I publish to production? You just get this for free by deploying to FeaturePeek, the deployment preview platform. And you get really cool functionality. Like I can test the responsiveness of this page, kind of change some common orientations and screen sizes. I can pull up a QR code and scan it on my phone to pull it up on a real physical device, which is super cool. I mean, how many times do you test a deployment preview from a branch on your actual mobile device? This makes it super easy. You can do things like measure the distance between certain elements on the site, just to make sure that things match spec. You can take screenshots, screen recordings, and if I open this up, you'll see all the comments here are mirrored from this deployment preview to the pull request. So I can let's see, if I take a screenshot here, there's a brief countdown to make sure you're ready, and I can mark it up. And I say, oh wait, what? What's this? Point an arrow. Maybe I crop it. This. There we go. You can use this in a new comment. Get a little preview of it here, and say, did you check this? Is this right? And you see when I comment here on FeaturePeek, it publishes inline in the pull request as well. Even with screen recordings, it'll record a video of your screen, then we convert it to a GIF, and the GIF plays inline. So this is like a super easy way to make sure people are checking out your changes that you're making, get feedback from other people. It's super cool. And because we're running FeaturePeek runs your code, you get the browser metadata of, oh, what browser was this issue found on? what was their screen size? What was the URL? Do you ever get that where you get a bug report and then they don't include what URL that they found the bug on? It's like useless. You have to chase them down. But no more, because all of this metadata gets included automatically. So I encourage you, we're gonna pass the link. Let me come back to video here. Hello again. We're going to share the link to this repo with you. I'm gonna paste it right now in chat, and we'll also be sharing it in the DevOps channel of the Mintbean Discord as well. So you can check out this repo. All the sample code I walked through in this workshop is available there. Fork it. You can run it on your own. Make sure you supply the secrets, your own values for your secrets on your repo. And yeah, have a great time and check it out. And rest assured that you now know how to automate some of the stuff in your GitHub repos. So thanks for tuning in. Do we have time for questions?
Yeah,
we pass back to Jennifer and Abby.
Yeah, I think, Jason, we have time for some questions. I think Claire had a question. Could you share a link to your example repo with these files?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I just pasted it there in chat, and let me open up Discord and paste it in the DevOps channel there. That's usually where we hang out. If you hit me up on Discord, just be sure to @reply me so I get the notification. And yeah, I can. We'll be around answering any other questions that you might have.
This is a really good time to ask questions, guys. Jason has been doing this for a very long time, and could just, you know, if you have any questions around deployment, or he's a really good resource. So if you want to turn your camera on, or if you want to just ask him a question, feel free to do that.
Hi, Jason.
Hey.
Thank you. That was super clear.
Oh, great.
I've been trying to play around with GitHub Actions lately, and I came across a scenario where I was trying to make crossed repo pull requests.
From a fork?
That's even possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think you're talking about a fork, like creating a pull request from a repo that's different than the base repo.
Yeah, usually it's a fork, but this case was like a cloned repo. It has like the same base code, but I wanted to like sync two different repos that weren't forks.
So, like pull from upstream?
I guess so.
Yeah, GitHub should have a way for you to do that. I do acknowledge it is kind of confusing, but basically you do it with the compare link. So if you compare two different refs, which are basically two different branches from two different repos, let's call them A and B, you can then create a pull request by setting either A or B as the target repo where you want the changes to land. Depending on the history of each repo, it'll be either a clean or a messy pull request. Right, the closer they are in history, the easier and less complaints you get from the merging itself. So yeah, so for example, like if you a great common use case for this is like if you create a fork of a repo and then sit on it, and some time goes by, and the base repo that you forked it from, there are continuing to be more contributions landing. Say that goes on for a couple weeks, and you go back to your fork and you're like, oh no, my fork is all out of date now, right? I made this one change, but I missed out on all the future changes that happened upstream. This is exactly when you want to pull those changes to, and hopefully there aren't any conflicts. Sometimes there are some conflicts, and you got to say, okay, you know, this is getting a little too complex for managing this in GitHub's UI. Let me just make the changes in my local environment and then push those up. Sometimes you might have to do a force push, depending on how messy the changes are. But yeah, it's if the perfect case scenario is you just hit that compare button and then re-pull everything from the base repo, and that's called pulling from upstream. The upstream changes are the ones where the work is continuing to land, and then your fork is like the one you're trying to pull to.
So I imagine there's a way to replicate that with GitHub Actions, since that's like a button in GitHub already. Like every time you push to your repo, it would automatically compare to the base of the fork and sync it. Okay.
Totally. Yeah, that sounds super useful. Yeah, I would search for that on the GitHub Actions Marketplace. But that sounds like a great use case.
Thank you.
Yeah. I see Mohammed in chat asks where you can get a free account on FeaturePeek. Just go to featurepeek.com. That's let me paste the link here as well, just to make it easy and clickable. That's with 2 E's. And you can use on private repos for a 2-week trial, or on public repos free forever. We have 2 products. One's FeaturePeek Indie, which I didn't go over in this talk. That's basically the CLI version. But now that you know what a continuous integration platform is, you should check out FeaturePeek Teams, because you get all the benefits of Indie, but automated. And it makes it much easier to work with as a team.